I don't know. It's hard to say. Just I'm just gonna keep working at it and see how I feel the rest of the day and tomorrow and the next day ultimately. So we'll see.
Well, there you have it. Brock Bowers, the Raiders tight end, the latest from Brock Bowers. We are taping right now on Saturday at the conclusion of the Raiders' last practice before Monday Night Football, and Brock Bowers was able to get out on the field. Remember, he's dealing with a knee injury, and now the question is, will he be able to play on Monday? But before we get to all that, I'm Vinny Bonsignore. My colleague Adam Hill, welcome to Vegas Nation First and 10, your go-to for Raider news and analysis, brought to you by the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. And we thank them all for their support. Adam, Pete Carroll was glowing about Brock Bowers being out on the practice field today on a limited basis, wearing a knee sleeve on his left knee and a brace on the knee itself, a sleeve on the leg. Brace on the knee. Pete said, hey, he looked great out there today. Looked terrific was the exact quote. But then talking to Brock Bowers, hey, how do you feel about, are you optimistic about Monday? Not so sure yet, and which is the right answer and the right approach. I mean, you never know what it's going to feel like tomorrow or Monday. There's still a lot of time before game day. Your gut feeling, though, on whether he plays or not.
And I feel like no.
Yeah.
I feel like no. But I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen between now and then. Also, like Pete Carroll was talking about it right after practice that we talked to Brock Bowers about a half hour later,
Makes a
which
difference.
was like 20 minutes ago at this point, just as you're watching him. We just had it, and you never know. It could have got swollen. It could have started to act up a little bit, like between those two times. So, we'll see. I think a lot will depend how it reacts overnight, how the swelling goes, that sort of thing, and where he feels. And look, if there's any question, I think you probably sit him out. I mean, it's one game early in the season. I don't think that you risk potentially a future injury. And, this goes a little bit back to, in my mind, it's different injuries, of course. Absolutely, I understand that. But it goes a little bit back to Max Crosby last year. If you remember, it was week 2. He got hurt against Baltimore last play of the game. He came out and played against Carolina the next week. It was probably as bad a game as he's had in the pros. Should not have been out there, was trying to gut it out, and did everything he could
All
for his team.
admirable.
It's all admirable, and I think fans really respect that, and they want to see a guy do that. But at the same time, we don't know for sure, but it seemed like that was part of why it lingered all year. I mean, that was definitely part of kind of what happened, because they sat him down for a week and then tried to figure it out from there. But he probably shouldn't have played that game. It's just that he so badly wanted to be out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to stop a guy from yourself. So different injuries, of course, absolutely no question about it. I'm just saying it kind of reminds me a little bit of that in my mind, where a guy's just tries so hard to be out there and just wants so badly to be out there, and maybe at the sacrifice of themselves for a while.
I have my feeling about Brock Bowers is he's not going to do that. I think he understands. He's got a long career ahead of him. He's got a long season ahead of him. And the Raiders need him for the balance of that season, not just one game. And if one game is going to challenge the balance of the season, then you don't do that. You just don't do that, especially with a knee. Now, you could probably
especially because, and I'll sorry to cut you off on this, but especially because, look, they don't have Brock Bowers sitting on the bench for sure. Michael Mayer, very talented, and Ian Thomas has been so good throughout the course of this, right? So you've got options.
Yeah, I want to get to Ian in particular because we'll get to him in a second. But if you're Brock Bowers, I think you play it as not safe as possible, but just as prudently as possible. Yeah. See how it feels on Monday. And this is what I was going to say. I think there's a way that, if he does play, there's a way to manage it a little bit more than you could a Max Crosby. It's two different positions. Max never comes off the field. There's a different body dynamic to it. You could actually use Brock as a decoy, potentially. So there's ways to maybe mitigate the injury in a way that you really couldn't with the Max Crosby, because there's one way to play defensive end, and that's to be out there full bore, 100%, trying to do what you got to do.
That's definitely true. Absolutely right. My feeling is if it's at that point where that's all he can do, I'm not playing him.
Yeah.
I'm not putting him out there. I'm not going to put him out there and say, hey, look, Chargers defense, look at this distraction over here, and open things up. I mean, it's helpful, but I don't know that that's worth putting him out there if he can't. Not that he has to play a full complement of plays, but I at least would want him to be an active part of the offense, able to give you a significant amount of playing time, a significant amount of ability to make plays out there. If he's not at that level, I'm perfectly fine with sitting him out for a week.
Yeah, and now Adam mentioned Ian Thomas, and we get a lot of questions about, well, this means Michael Mayer is going to replace Brock Bowers. Here's the thing: I know they both play tight end, but they play two different versions of tight end, and that's why Ian Thomas becomes so important. And we've seen him in practice, and we know that this guy's got some ability. Yeah. He's not Brock Bowers, who is, but he plays more similarly to Brock Bowers. He plays that tight end position, and so I think for the I know Pete's thinking along the same lines, and Chip Kelly is as well. You don't move. Maybe the volume for Michael Mayer goes up, but the responsibility and the position stays exactly the same. And then you just slide Ian Thomas into Brock Bowers as well.
Yeah, Ian Thomas plays the Brock Bowers role. Michael Mayer plays the Michael Mayer role.
Yeah.
He kind of stays doing what he's doing. And there's maybe some plays where it's just a one tight end set, and you're like, okay, this is a good route for Michael Mayer for sure. But I think because you're still going to probably use a lot of 12 personnel, you're probably going to use a lot of times where you have both of them on the field at the same time. Ian Thomas would line up where Brock Bowers would line up.
Exactly.
And Michael Mayer would line up where he typically does. I think that's how that rotation would
No doubt. And keep in mind, too, the Raiders were very successful, Geno Smith in particular, were extremely successful out of 12 personnel. Yeah. It was their strongest personnel grouping on Sunday against the Patriots. Now, granted, a lot of that was with a guy by the name of Brock Bowers in the lineup, but that personnel grouping seems to have been a good a combination for the Raiders on Sunday. We'll see if that continues. I would imagine it's going to continue. Just the question now is whether or not Brock Bowers is going to be out there at all, limited basis, whatever the situation is. But I do think Ian Thomas is going to have a bigger role without question on Monday night. All right, so that's one Raider player that is injured. We move on down the list. And the Raiders are going to have a new starting right guard. This week compared to last week, Alex Kappa is up. Jackson Powers Johnson officially ruled out with the concussion. Come to find out that because we were wondering, all right, so Jackson Powers Johnson practiced on Thursday, which would have been a normal Wednesday if the game was on Sunday, but Thursday is Wednesday. When you're playing Monday Night Football, hope you got all that. It's hard for us to keep it all straight. Trust me.
Today is Saturday, but it's
Today
Friday.
is Saturday. Yeah, a lot of college football in the Raider locker room.
It was a fast Friday, but it's Saturday.
But, by the way, locker room. Did you catch that? It's Pitt, West Virginia on TV. The Raiders' two quarterbacks are Pitt, West Virginia guys. Geno Smith, West Virginia, Kenny Pickett, Pitt. So I wonder if they're talking to each other today. Or if they're
then later on, it was a Tennessee, Georgia. A lot of Tennessee and Georgia guys.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the Eric Stokes.
It was the way it's set up is there's two TVs that are back to back in in both sections of one section of the locker room. So if you just go around a couch or whatever the monitor the TV console. You could watch the Tennessee Georgia game, and then you just take a couple steps back, and you could watch the Pitt West Virginia game. So anyway,
21-7 after one. I know the score has changed now, but 21-7 after one for Tennessee against Georgia, and Dante Thornton was having a party.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder. I want to ask. Well, I'm going to keep that to myself. But I would imagine.
I think what you're going to say, and I'm not going to say it out
quarterback?
loud. I actually asked Dante Thornton about it. And he just kind of put his head down.
Maybe we now know why Dante Thornton had as few catches as he did at Tennessee.
Potentially.
Because there's a quarterback that he played with that's not even with the Tennessee program. You do the guesswork on that, the detective work.
I talked to Dante Thornton about it today.
I can imagine.
That's my guy. I just talked to him. He said, I'll leave.
Yeah.
He was very complimentary of the quarterback.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Who, as you know, he seems like a class kid. So that gets us to Jackson Powers Johnson, the Raiders starting guard, as we mentioned. Alex Kappa in, Jackson Powers Johnson out. On Thursday's practice, getting back on track here, Jackson Powers Johnson, I guess, stuck a player. Is that how Pete said it? It was a collision, obviously. Suffered a concussion, so that's why, to our surprise, we're not allowed to watch anymore full practices. That's the way the NFL policy is. We go out there for stretching, take some pictures, see who's out there, then bang, we're back in the media room. They go out to practice. We catch up with them after practice. Jackson Powers Johnson was completely fine on Thursday. Yeah. Friday comes around. He's wearing a baseball hat and watching over on the sidelines. Okay, what happened to Jackson Powers Johnson? Then we got the injury report yesterday. Concussion. That continues. He's now in concussion protocol. He's been officially ruled out of Monday's game. And here's the interesting thing to me. Alex Kappa, proud veteran, and we all understand that he had struggles last year with the Cincinnati Bengals. for the most part, he's been a very quality player, right? You know, not an all-pro player by any stretch of the imagination, but a starting guard on a Super Bowl winning team and largely an effective cog in two offensive lines on some pretty decent teams, actually. It's just interesting that a door has opened for Alex Kappa now, who's on a 2-year deal, $11 million deal. He was actually, I think we would all agree, going into training camp, we wrote him in as a starting guard, with Jackson Powers being the starting center. That didn't happen because Jordan Meredith takes Jackson's job at center, and then Jackson Powers Johnson beats out Alex Kappa, although it wasn't really a fair fight. Alex didn't get a chance to practice a whole lot with a rib injury. Well, the ball has swung back into Alex Kappa's court, and I guess my question to you is, would you be completely shocked if he just doesn't take this job and run with it?
I would be shocked if he does. I think the more, likely is not the right word, a more possible scenario to watch is Jackson Powers Johnson's history. Now, we don't really know what was going on last offseason.
We kind of do.
Kind of do. It was something to monitor.
It's
for sure.
Definitely something to monitor. This goes
yeah.
back a little ways.
Yeah. So I think that's part of this here, where you're like, okay, what could happen with him potentially, and if he is out a while, then Alex Kappa has a chance to settle in, and like based on how Alex Kappa played last year, it'd be tough to see him just solidifying the job and being great. But he's done it in the past, and there is some history on this team. Look around. I mean, Devin White was cast off from 2 organizations. I mean, he was a former great player, same team as Alex Kappa in the past.
Yeah.
Had so much success. Was one of the best in the league. Kind of fell off a little bit. A lot of reasons, personal reasons, injuries. He's back playing at a very high level. It's the same type of story, right? With a lot of different guys on this team, actually, who've been, kind of written off or cast off for other reasons, other places. Can you come here, find a place, get comfortable, get put in the right situation, and thrive? Certainly possible. Now, again, watch the film last year, you're not going to believe that's possible, but we see it with other positions.
And the other thing is, and I've learned this lesson a million, quadrillion, kabillion times over.
It's not a real number.
You never know. It's true. You never know what somebody's dealing with.
Yeah.
Like it's oftentimes where, it's like you were dealing with that. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So we sometimes assess these players, and a lot of players keep things quiet in terms of what they're dealing with. We're talking about physically here. So we don't know.
And mentally.
True, without question. So we don't know what Alex Kappa may or may not have been dealing with last year, and how that may or may not have contributed to the level of play. But I guess we're going to find out on Monday if last year was an aberration and he's back to being Alex Kappa, or if last year was an indicator of what he now is as a player. By the way, Devin White, he wears the green dot. Come to find out today. So because we're moving on to Elandon Roberts.
Thanks for reading my story.
Oh yeah, right.
that was in my story.
Yes, yeah. I didn't. I'm sorry. Yeah. So it's interesting about that. Somewhere along the line, as you wrote, I forgot where. Okay. He
took it over from Elandon.
Yeah, and I think. I think one of the reasons, by the way, Elandon Roberts was no longer he was on the practice report only because he was limited and didn't practice earlier in the week. But he was back to practice fully today, and there's no designation for him, so he's good to go on Monday. But it was interesting, you could read Adam's story over at Vegas Nation about Devin White and the resurgence of it. But basically all throughout training camp, it was Elandon Roberts who was the designated green dot guy. The green dot guy is the guy that calls the defensive signals for the defense. Well, it's now Devin White, which makes a whole lot of sense because when you looked at the play sheet, the snap counts from Sunday's game, Elandon Roberts played 14. Obviously, he got hurt, but his replacement only played 11. Eichenberg, and there were 71 defensive snaps. So that's like, obviously they decided, look, he's not going to be on the field enough to be the green dot guy. It is Devin White. Now it looks like all 3 of their starting linebackers are going to be out there. But I do want you to talk about Devin White and the resurgence that he's had. It's only one game, he looked pretty good.
Looked real good. Was all over the place. Setting up the defense, communicating all those things that he was doing, but also just the run stopping was very impressive. Getting in lanes, also dropping off. I mean, there were some coverage issues. There always is with linebackers. Really, really tough to gauge linebacker coverage because they have so many different responsibilities. Of you got to check, make sure it's a pass first. All the different things that they have to do. But I think that a lot of what he did, a lot of what the Raiders defense did, was limiting what the Patriots wanted to do. And I think a big reason to that was not just Devin White, but the other linebackers as well. I mean, Jamal Adams really, really strong in pass rush in particular. Jermaine Pratt, was filling lanes for sure, shutting down the run, and Devin White was doing a little bit of everything on that side. And then, Eichenberg had to pop in too, and Roberts before he left. But they had a lot of solid play out of their linebackers, which was a question and was kind of answered at least for 1 week last week.
Yeah, and it's a position group that Pete Carroll has been bullish on throughout.
Yeah.
Like almost from the moment they signed Jermaine Pratt, actually, which was the last day of minicamp, if I remember correctly. He didn't even get out there. He felt pretty darn good about the linebackers. And granted, it's an older group, but when we did talk to Patrick Graham yesterday, he kind of liked that. He loved the fact that these are linebackers with an experience level that he could connect with on a coach to player basis without having to worry. Does this guy understand what the heck I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So it'll be, as long as they can stay healthy, and I think that's going to be the key because it is an older group. It'll be an interesting group to watch. But I got a question to you about that, specifically to the team that they're playing, the Chargers. How do you feel like those linebackers are going to be deployed this week compared to last week? Because I think the Chargers and Patriots do things entirely different.
Very different. And look, I think the biggest question is, what are the Chargers? What is their identity offensively? Because what we thought a Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman offense looked like is not what we saw week one. Certainly, it was not. It was totally different.
In what way?
They took full advantage of the fact they have Justin Herbert and 3 really, really good receivers.
Good coaching.
They became but they had Herbert last year. They were run. It's just like they seem like they want to be an air attack offense now. Like it seems like there's no question about it. And they were using Herbert a little bit with his athleticism, which is a dangerous game because you don't want to get him hurt. But he does have some of that athleticism. We saw that especially when he was in college. So they let him run a little bit, let him get on the outside, but really just drop back and through. When you have McConkey, Quentin Johnston, who's finally figured it out, certainly did against the Raiders in the last game last year, and now has carried that in. And now Keenan Allen, who a lot of people had written off, and now looked like he was right back at home.
By the way.
Right back at home with Justin Herbert last week. So when you have those 3 guys and Justin Herbert, you should become a passing offense, I think. And they do have a first-round pick at running back, but they look like they want to be a passing team now, which we don't know if that was game plan specific against Kansas City or if that's what they're going to be. But if that's what they're going to be, that does put a lot of pressure on linebackers if they're just going to be trying to chase slot receivers and running backs out of the backfield and tight ends all over the place.
I'd be curious what the Raiders preferred them to be on Monday.
I think the Raiders would rather them be a running team.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. All right, we're going to take a quick break. But before we do, hey, look, everybody asked, and we are delivering. You guys asked for great coverage, great, maybe even at a discounted basis for a digital subscription to Vegas Nation, your one stop for all Raider news and analysis. And we are delivering. If you go to mylvrj.com, /nation. That's mylvrj.com/nation. You can get the next 3 months of a digital subscription to Vegas Nation for all of 25 cents, 1 quarter. For the next 3 months of a digital subscription to Vegas Nation. Check it out, whether it's for you. Spread the word around as well. I'm sure you obviously know Raider fans in your family or amongst your friends. Let everybody know, mylvrj.com/nation.
I'm not great at math, but I think that's 8.33 cents per month.
He is great at math. Don't let him fool you. How much?
It's like 8.33. Well, a bunch of other decimals after, but essentially
per month,
8.33
not
month.
per day. Per month. So take advantage of that. It's our gift to you and our thanks to you for being such great, loyal subscribers and supporters of everything that we're doing over at Vegas Nation. Thank you very, very much. When we get back, we will wrap up the podcast with a deep dive-ish look at Monday night's game against the Chargers.
It's a good group, and they're diverse. They all have their skills, and Ladd is really a good football player. He does everything well, and so they unfortunately know all that, and it's a very good group to deal with.
And that's Pete Carroll talking about the suddenly deep and effective Chargers wide receivers, which, by the way, we were talking earlier in the show, the suddenly pass-happy Chargers going against the grain on what Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman like to do in terms of being a pounding, running the ball team. Maybe just the fact that they have confidence now in this wide receiver group led by Landon McConkey, and then also everyone else that they have. Maybe that's also given them a little bit more confidence that that Justin has a supporting cast capable of pulling something like that off if they want to go pass happy.
Yeah, and I think, as much as everybody talks about Lad McConkey being this breakout star last year, which he is, and he's ultra talented and probably will be their leading receiver by the end of the year, the fact Quentin Johnston has finally figured it out. I mean, he has all the tools in the world, all the ability in the world, way too many drop passes, way too many wrong routes and that sort of thing first couple of years, but it was 13 catches against the Raiders at the end of last year.
It's crazy.
And carried that over, obviously a great game week 1 with 2 touchdowns. And then Keenan Allen is that ultimate security blanket for Justin Herbert. So they've got like almost a perfectly constructed receiver core right now, and it'll be a big challenge certainly for the Raiders defensive backs.
Yeah, and I think this is where I know Pete put out the call for Raider fans to show up en masse on Monday night to try to disrupt that, because that's one way that Allegiant Stadium can maybe lend an assist. And I know Pete understands that, working for all those years up in Seattle and that great home field advantage. And by the way, I think Vivid Seats had it at 84% Raider fans are expected at Allegiant Stadium. So now's the time, this is from the players and from the coaching staff, to do your job if you're there, to make life difficult for what looks like a pretty potent Chargers offense. We'll see about all that. We're real quick going to go to our own Heidi Fang and Chuck Esposito over at Station Casinos STN Sports, and they're going to take a deep dive look at some of the gaming aspects of this weekend's NFL slate of schedule.
And joining us now here on the First and 10 podcast, we have in for his regular weekly segment, Sports Betting Talk. It's Chuck Esposito from Station Casinos, the race and sportsbook director there. Lots to talk about, Chuck. Big games, as always, in the NFL season, and it's only week 2. We'll get right into it with the Raiders here, with the 3.5 right now as underdogs in this one against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Of course, we're seeing a renewed rivalry between Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh, and AFC West divisional game. What's the money coming in like on this one right now? Are people still going heavy on the Raiders?
First, it's great to be on with you again, Heidi. It's fun that football season's here. As I said last week, yay sportsbooks.
Yeah.
I love the Monday night doubleheaders. I wish they do them every week. And it's fun to have the late game here in our backyard. Chargers, Raiders. Last year, these two teams played way late in the season. I think it was the last game of the season. Total went flying over. Chargers covered both games last year. As we talked about last week, I think the gap has narrowed between the Chiefs and Broncos, or between the Chargers and Broncos and maybe the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs proved that last week, or the Chargers proved that last week with their big win. Raiders come up with a big road win last week in New England. This game opened up 3. It has gone up to 3.5. The total's gone flying up. I mean, it's moved up a full 2 points. So they're expecting a repeat of last year when there was a lot of scoring in this game. But I think it's a big matchup for both teams. I think the Chargers to try to get off to that 2-0 start, and the Raiders to win their home opener and really show that it's a 4-team race, not just a 3-team race in the AFC West.
Yeah, lots of interesting points there, especially the total going over. I still remember those 63 points that the Raiders posted on them. Don't know that that'll be a repeat of that performance necessarily, but I don't know. I'm thinking the over hits on this one.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Chargers, definitely a different kind of offense last week against the Chiefs. They threw more, didn't run as much. I was impressed with the way the Raiders played. They were kind of in control of that game from the onset. It shows you having a veteran quarterback like Geno Smith and adding Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly to the mix and Genty, that they're just a different team right now. So it's their home opener. The crowd's going to be into it. It's an opportunity for them to be in first place in the AFC West. But as I mentioned, early number did open 3, went to 3.5, but a lot of over money. So from our side of the counter, we are clearly going to be under fans come Monday night.
Of course, now we also have a repeat this weekend on Sunday of the Super Bowl from last year. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, the Chiefs losing that one by more than 20, I believe, points last year in the Super Bowl. With this one right now sitting at just a point in favor of the Eagles, -1 on that line. So we just wanted to get your take, of course, on the Super Bowl repeat for this season in week 2.
Well, the Eagles seem to have maybe a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover against the Cowboys. They did win that game, but it was really close, and Cowboys had their chances last week. Chiefs did not play great against the Chargers and lost that game. This game kind of has ping-ponged back and forth a bit between Pick and the Eagles won. I think the big difference here for the Chiefs is that no Rice and no Worthy at wideouts. They're going to have to win like they did last year with defense. The Eagles did go to a 1-point favorite. It looks like this game could kick a little bit higher. Very uncharacteristically, we might need the Chiefs at home in this game on Sunday. Last year, they were just 4-10, their last 14 against the number, and they lost their opening game this year. So it's 4-11 right now against the number in their last 15 games. Yet very unusual to see the Kansas City Chiefs getting points at home at Arrowhead, but it is against the defending Super Bowl champs, Philadelphia Eagles.
Now, the last one I want to get into is the Baltimore Ravens right now, minus 11.5 on that spread against the Cleveland Browns. And I look at something like this and I think, well, I wonder where the sharp money's going. I wonder where the square money's going. You know, do people come in on the Browns thinking that, hey, that 11.5 might be too much for the Ravens? Or do we look at it like, hey, this is going to be a clean sweep for the Ravens? The Browns don't have much in terms of production, and they're still figuring out who they are and their identity. Where do you see this one going? And where does the money come in on a game like that when you have such a big spread?
There's no question we're going to be Browns fans when this game kicks off. There was a little bit of money when we first posted the game just because of the big number. It came down from 12 a little bit, but the public's going to back the Ravens here. It is a divisional game, and if you're the Ravens, you come off a loss, a game that you should have won last week against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, yet you found a way to lose. You had a 98.9% chance to win that game with a little bit over 4 minutes to go, and you lost that game. So if you're a Raven team, you're going to be angry here. I suspect the Browns are going to try to stick around. You're going to need Joe Flacco against his old team to have a great game. But we're going to be Browns fans when this game kicks off early on Sunday morning.
And there you have it. I know I'm picking the Ravens in my Survivor League, but that's just, completely different. I guess that's money line if you're going
I think everybody is.
Why wouldn't you?
That would be a Survivor League buster if the Browns won outright. And good for the sportsbooks, though, I should say, especially an outright money line win.
And also, it would be bad for those Ravens going 0-2 to start off the season. But, stranger things have happened. Chuck, I appreciate the time as always and appreciate all the insight here. Anything that you want to tell us that's still going on, promotions, otherwise, with the STN Sports app?
Yeah, we still have the up to $50 no worry wager going on in all of our sports books, in our station sports books. The atmosphere, I think, in all of our books is great. Great drink specials, $3 shots, $3 beers, and $1.99 margaritas. So you can't be at the game. There's no place better to be than one of our books on Saturday and Sunday.
I always appreciate the time, and I look forward to speaking with you again when week 3 comes around.
All right, my pleasure, Heidi. Enjoy the games, and I'll talk to you next week.
Our thanks to Heidi Fang, our own Heidi Fang, and Station Casinos, STN Sports, Chuck Esposito, the Race and Sportsbook Director over at STN Sports, Station Casinos. All right, so I guess it's prediction time, or at least what kind of a game you expect. I'll defer to you to start off on this. I won the toss. I'm going to defer to the second half.
I think it's going to be a lot of points.
Yeah.
I think this is the week. We talked about it going into the season that the Raiders were probably going to be in some shootouts. Week 1, there was some weather. There was some sluggish play, both sides. And I just don't think it ever got to that point. I think the Raiders could have maybe scored if they had to, but it was a different type of a game. I think they're going to have to this week. I think there's going to be a lot of points on the board. I think the winner gets to at least 30.
30 at least. Okay,
Yeah.
So that would be a 10-point improvement for the Raiders. I'm with you. I think it's going to be a little bit of a track meet out there. I know Brock wants to be out there to play against his old friend over at Georgia, Ladd McConkey. We'll see if that plays out. I think Ashton Genty is going to have a better game on Monday night. I don't know exactly how many yards he's going to get, but I think he's going to contribute. If the Raiders win, he's going to have a relatively
Hot
big
take,
game.
more than 2.0 yards per carry.
Yes, exactly. Although, as Chip Kelly said, the whole building knew that they were going to run the ball, including Mike Vrabel and the Patriots. And he got 10 carries in the fourth quarter. It kind of blew me away when I went back and looked. They were just handing the ball. They were trying to run clock at that point. I think it'll be more structured on Monday night. I'm curious what Alex Kappa is going to look like because you're going to probably hear some some rumblings after that game, one way or another, because if he has a big game coming off Jackson Powers Johnson's sort of shaky game on Sunday, it'll be interesting to see how that gets handled moving forward. I'm not going to make a prediction. I just think it's going to be a fun game, a great game. I'm with Adam. I think you're going to have to score 30 points in this game to win this game. Whatever happens, we are going to be out there at Allegiant Stadium covering it for Vegas Nation, so keep an eye out for all of that. But also going to do our normal post-game podcast right after the game. It's a late one. It's a 7 o'clock Pacific time start, not the usual 5 o'clock start. So drink as much coffee as you can. Be well rested and stick with us because we're going to cover the game and then we're going to do the podcast right after. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Great slate of college football on Saturday, a full slate of NFL football games. What's the game you're watching on Sunday?
On Sunday? I mean, all of them, obviously.
Yes.
I want to see what happens with Miami coming off of a game where it looks like they were kind of collapsing and falling
for
apart.
Punishment.
I want to see what Miami is able to do off of that game.
Bears, Lions, I think is a very intriguing game. And then Vikings against the Falcons. I like that because it's Penix against J.J. McCarthy.
Saints Niners with no Brock Purdy?
Saints, yeah. It's Mac Jones time in San Francisco. So
Or George Kittle.
Yeah. Anyway, enjoy all the games and check us out after the game on Monday night. Take care.